Welcome. Today we're diving into the concept of budget constraints, a fundamental idea in economics that directly influences consumer behavior. Imagine you walk into a store with a fixed amount of money in your wallet. Every decision you make about what to buy is shaped by this limit. Budget constraints are not just about numbers, they represent the real-world boundaries that guide our choices every day. In this video, we'll explore how these constraints work, why they matter, and how they affect the way we spend, save, and prioritize our needs and wants. Let's start by understanding what a budget constraint really means. Budget constraint is the limit on the consumption bundles that a consumer can afford. It's determined by the consumer's income and the prices of goods and services. Think of it as an invisible fence. No matter how much you want something, if it's outside your budget, it's out of reach. This concept helps economists predict and explain consumer choices. By analyzing budget constraints, we can understand why people buy certain products and not others, and how changes in income or prices can shift their purchasing decisions. Make budget constraints easier to understand, economists often use a graph called the budget line. This line shows all the combinations of two goods that a consumer can buy with their income. For example, if you have $100 to spend on books and coffee, the budget line shows every possible mix of books and coffee you could afford. The slope of the line reflects the relative prices of the two goods. If coffee becomes more expensive, the line pivots, showing you can now afford less coffee for the same amount of books. Income is a key factor in determining a consumer's budget constraint. When your income increases, your budget line shifts outward, allowing you to afford more goods and services. Conversely, if your income drops, your choices become more limited. This relationship helps explain why people's buying habits change when they get a raise or face a pay cut. It also highlights the importance of income in shaping overall consumer demand in the economy. Prices of goods and services also play a crucial role in budget constraints. If the price of one good rises while your income stays the same, you can afford less of that good and your budget line pivots inward. On the other hand, if prices fall, your purchasing power increases. This is why sales and discounts can have such a big impact on consumer behavior. They effectively stretch your budget, letting you buy more for the same amount of money. Every time you make a purchase, you're also making a trade-off. The concept of opportunity cost is central to understanding budget constraints. When you spend money on one item, you give up the chance to buy something else. For example, if you buy a new pair of shoes, you might have to skip going out for dinner. Budget constraints force us to weigh these trade-offs and make choices that best satisfy our needs and wants. Budget constraints interact with consumer preferences to shape buying decisions. Preferences reflect what consumers like or value more. Even within a budget, people make different choices based on their tastes. Some might prioritize healthy food while others prefer entertainment or fashion. Economists use the concept of utility to measure satisfaction, helping explain why people choose one combination of goods over another, even with the same budget. Within their budget constraints, consumers aim to maximize their utility or overall satisfaction. This means choosing the combination of goods and services that gives them the most happiness within their budget. Economists model this process using indifference curves and budget lines, showing where a consumer gets the highest utility possible without overspending. This framework helps explain why people allocate their money the way they do. Let's bring this concept to life with a real-world example. Imagine you're at the grocery store with a $50 budget. You have to decide how much to spend on fruits, vegetables, snacks, and drinks. Each choice you make affects what else you can buy. If you splurge on premium coffee, you might have to cut back on snacks. This everyday scenario perfectly illustrates how budget constraints shape our decisions and force us to prioritize. Budget constraints don't just affect what we buy, they also influence how much we save. If you spend less than your income, you can set aside money for future needs or emergencies. But if your expenses match or exceed your income, saving becomes difficult. Understanding your budget constraint helps you plan for both short-term purchases and long-term financial goals, making it a vital tool for personal finance management. Budget constraints are universal, but how people respond to them can vary across cultures. In some societies, saving is highly valued, while in others, spending on experiences or family is prioritized. Cultural attitudes toward money, debt, and consumption all influence how individuals navigate their budget constraints. By studying these differences, economists gain insight into global consumer behavior and the diverse ways people manage their resources. Budget constraints don't just affect individuals, they also impact families. Households must decide how to allocate their combined income among various needs, such as housing, food, education, and leisure. These decisions often involve negotiation and compromise, as different family members may have different priorities. Understanding budget constraints helps families make informed choices that balance everyone's needs and preferences. As people move through different stages of life, their budget constraints and spending patterns change. Young adults may have limited income and focus on essentials, while families with children face new expenses. Later in life, priorities might shift towards saving for retirement or healthcare. Recognizing how budget constraints evolve over time helps individuals plan for the future and adapt to changing circumstances. During economic downturns, budget constraints become even more pronounced. Job losses, reduced income, and rising prices force consumers to make tougher choices. People may cut back on non-essential spending, seek discounts, or delay major purchases. Understanding how budget constraints tighten during tough times helps policymakers design effective support measures and helps individuals prepare for financial uncertainty. Luxury goods are often out of reach for most consumers due to budget constraints. Only those with higher incomes can afford to spend on premium brands or exclusive experiences. This creates a clear distinction between necessities and luxuries in consumer behavior. Marketers use this knowledge to target different segments, offering affordable alternatives or exclusive products based on consumers' budget limitations. Technology has changed the way consumers manage their budget constraints. Budgeting apps, online banking, and digital payment tools make it easier to track spending and plan purchases. These innovations help consumers stay within their limits and make smarter financial decisions. As technology continues to evolve, it will play an even bigger role in shaping how we navigate our budget constraints. Advertisers are keenly aware of consumers' budget constraints. They design promotions, discounts, and payment plans to make products seem more affordable. By understanding how budget constraints influence buying decisions, marketers can craft messages that appeal to consumers' desire for value and savings. This interplay between advertising and budget constraints shapes much of the modern shopping experience. Social influences can affect how people respond to budget constraints. Friends, family, and social media often shape our perceptions of what's worth buying. Sometimes, people stretch their budgets to keep up with trends or fit in with their peers. Understanding these social pressures helps explain why consumers sometimes make choices that don't align with their financial best interests. Credit cards and loans can temporarily relax budget constraints, allowing consumers to spend more than they currently have. However, this comes with the risk of debt and future financial strain. Responsible use of credit can help manage cash flow, but overspending can lead to long-term problems. Understanding the relationship between credit and budget constraints is crucial for healthy financial habits. Impulse buying is a common challenge when it comes to sticking to budget constraints. Stores use strategic layouts, promotions, and product placements to encourage spontaneous purchases. While a small treat now and then is fine, frequent impulse buys can quickly erode your budget. Being aware of these tactics can help consumers make more intentional choices and stay within their financial limits. One of the most important lessons from budget constraints is learning to distinguish between needs and wants. Needs are essentials like food, shelter, and healthcare, while wants are extras like entertainment or luxury items. Budget constraints force consumers to prioritize needs first, making sure the basics are covered before indulging in wants. This discipline is key to maintaining financial stability. When faced with budget constraints, consumers often substitute cheaper alternatives for more expensive items. For example, if steak becomes too pricey, you might buy chicken instead. This substitution effect helps explain how changes in prices and budgets influence what people buy. It's a key concept in understanding consumer behavior and market demand. Complementary goods are products that are often used together, like coffee and sugar. Budget constraints can affect how much of each you buy. If your budget tightens, you might cut back on both, even if only one price rises. Understanding how budget constraints impact complementary goods helps businesses set prices and predict changes in demand. Inferior goods are items people buy more of when their income drops, like instant noodles or generic brands. Budget constraints make consumers shift toward these products during tough times. This behavior helps economists understand how different types of goods respond to changes in income and budget limitations. Normal goods are products people buy more of as their income increases, such as fresh produce or branded clothing. When budget constraints loosen, consumers tend to upgrade their purchases. Tracking these shifts helps businesses anticipate demand and tailor their offerings to changing consumer budgets. Elasticity measures how sensitive consumers are to changes in price or income. Budget constraints play a big role here. If a good is elastic, a small price increase can lead to a big drop in demand. Inelastic goods, like basic groceries, are less affected by price changes. Understanding elasticity helps businesses and policymakers predict how consumers will react to economic shifts. Governments often design policies to help people cope with budget constraints. Examples include subsidies for essential goods, tax breaks, or direct cash transfers. These measures aim to ease financial pressure and ensure everyone can afford basic needs. Understanding how budget constraints affect consumer behavior helps policymakers create effective support programs. Behavioral economics explores how psychological factors influence financial decisions, especially under budget constraints. People don't always act rationally. They might overspend, procrastinate, or make impulsive choices. By studying these behaviors, economists can design better tools and policies to help consumers make smarter decisions within their budget limits. Financial literacy is the knowledge and skills needed to manage money effectively. Understanding budget constraints is a key part of this. People who are financially literate are better equipped to make informed choices, avoid debt, and plan for the future. Promoting financial education helps individuals and families navigate their budget constraints with confidence. Sustainable consumption means making choices that are good for both your wallet and the environment. Budget constraints can encourage people to buy less, reuse more, and seek value and quality over quantity. This shift not only helps consumers save money but also supports broader goals of environmental sustainability and responsible resource use. Online shopping platforms have changed the way consumers interact with their budget constraints. With easy price comparisons and digital coupons, it's simpler than ever to find the best deals. However, the convenience of online shopping can also lead to overspending. Being mindful of your budget constraint is essential, even in the digital marketplace. Subscription services like streaming platforms or meal kits have become popular ways to manage spending. They offer predictable monthly costs, making it easier to stick to a budget. However, too many subscriptions can add up quickly. Regularly reviewing your subscriptions helps ensure they fit within your budget constraint and provide real value. Budget constraints can influence health-related decisions, such as what foods to buy or whether to join a gym. Sometimes, healthier options are more expensive, leading consumers to make compromises. Public health initiatives often aim to make healthy choices more affordable, helping people stay within their budget while maintaining their well-being. Education is a significant expense for many families, and budget constraints often dictate the choices available. From selecting schools to buying supplies, every decision involves weighing costs against benefits. Scholarships, grants, and financial aid can help ease these constraints, making education more accessible to all. Housing is often the largest item in a household budget. Budget constraints influence decisions about renting versus buying, location, and size. Rising housing costs can force families to make tough trade-offs, such as living farther from work or choosing smaller spaces. Understanding your budget constraint helps you make informed housing decisions that fit your financial situation. Transportation costs, such as car payments, fuel, or public transit, are another key part of the budget constraint. Consumers must decide what mode of transport fits their needs and budget. Rising fuel prices or maintenance costs can force people to seek alternatives like carpooling or biking to stay within their financial limits. Leisure activities such as dining out, travel, or entertainment are often the first to be cut when budget constraints tighten. Consumers look for free or low-cost alternatives like parks or home-based hobbies. Finding ways to enjoy life within your budget is an important skill for maintaining happiness and financial health. Setting aside money for emergencies is a smart way to manage budget constraints. Unexpected expenses like car repairs or medical bills can strain your finances if you're unprepared. Building an emergency fund helps cushion these shocks and keeps you from overspending or going into debt when surprises arise. Planning for retirement means thinking about future budget constraints. Saving and investing early can help ensure you have enough to cover your needs later in life. Understanding how your budget constraint will change over time helps you set realistic goals and make the most of your resources. Inflation, or the rising cost of goods and services, can tighten budget constraints even if your income stays the same. As prices go up, your money buys less, forcing you to adjust your spending. Keeping an eye on inflation and adjusting your budget accordingly is essential for maintaining your standard of living. Managing debt is a crucial part of staying within your budget constraint. High-interest loans or credit card balances can quickly eat into your available funds. Creating a plan to pay down debt and avoid unnecessary borrowing helps keep your finances healthy and your budget under control. Setting clear financial goals helps you make the most of your budget constraint. Whether it's saving for a vacation, buying a home, or building an emergency fund, having specific targets keeps you motivated and focused. Regularly reviewing your goals and progress ensures you stay on track and adjust as needed. Minimalism is a lifestyle choice that aligns closely with budget constraints. By focusing on what truly matters and cutting out excess, minimalists find satisfaction with less. This approach can help reduce financial stress, increase savings, and lead to a more intentional and fulfilling life. Charitable giving is another area influenced by budget constraints. Many people want to support causes they care about but must balance generosity with their own financial needs. Setting aside a portion of your budget for donations ensures you can give back without jeopardizing your financial health. Summary: budget constraints are a powerful force shaping consumer behavior and economics. They guide our choices, force us to prioritize, and influence every aspect of our financial lives. By understanding and respecting these limits, we can make smarter decisions, achieve our goals, and build a more secure future. Remember, mastering your budget constraint isn't about restriction, it's about empowerment and making the most of what you have.